Hi there. Christmas is past now, and if you're like me, you need a break from all the heavy foods that we've been eating. So I'm going to make a nice Vietnamese soup. It's called Spicy Coconut Mandarin Soup with Mushrooms, and I chose this because our tangerine tree is just weighted down with all these tangerines. So I'm going to use these in place of mandarin orange. Close enough. So, but before I start in on the soup preparation, I need to make one of the ingredients because it calls for a fish sauce, and I'm a vegetarian, so I don't want to use a fish sauce. I'm going to make a vegetarian version of fish sauce. So to make that, a vegetarian fish sauce, we're going to need just a few ingredients, but you're going to have to be a little bit creative. So you'll see what I mean. So I need sugar, just plain sugar, and soy sauce, and of course, this is my favorite soy sauce. I like this sauce. I keep telling you, this is my favorite soy sauce. I like it because it's lighter than a lot of them, and I like that. Anyway, soy sauce, whatever kind you have. Some water. We need a tablespoon of dry roasted peanuts, and these are salted, but I don't have any that aren't. So I'll just use less salty something. Okay, there's that, and I'm gonna need, what else? Okay, so this is the important ingredient. The important ingredient. You gotta have something that's gonna give you a fishy taste. And I have decided that I'm gonna use this. This is a Japanese broth mix. These are, it's powdered. But it's, the main ingredient in this is seaweed, is kombu. If you don't, I got this from Amazon. So if you don't have this, or you don't want to buy a bunch of this kombu powder, you can use some nori. Either, I have had it in a powdered form, or you could use just a part of a sheet. You only really need a teaspoonful. Or you could use a Korean, either the big sheets, or I often get seasoned laver, which is just delicious to snack on. It's got more than just the seaweed in it. It's also salty. This one is maybe a little salty. Nori usually isn't salty, but you don't want to have too salty. Then again, I believe in the soup recipe, I only need a tablespoon of this sauce. So I'm going to keep it in the fridge and make sure that I find other recipes that have this sauce. So I'm going to just put everything in my magic bullet. So why don't I just tell you the ingredients, and you just blitz it, and then you want to check and see the consistency, and make sure it's the consistency of soy sauce. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Anyway, I'm going to make mine. Oh, I should tell you how much of everything. I do have it in the comments, but I'm going to need a tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of roasted peanuts, a teaspoon of whatever kind of seaweed you're going to use once it's powdered. And it's optional. If you want to, you can add a fresh hot chili pepper with the seeds removed. I'm not going to bother with that. This soup is going to be flavorful enough. So you put that in a blender. I'm going to use my magic bullet. Use whatever you have, but you want it completely blended and mixed. And if it's too thick, just add a teeny bit of water. Okay, I've got my vegetarian fish sauce, and it's really delicious, I gotta tell you. So I wanted to show it to you. It is thicker. I added a teaspoonful of water. It is thicker than soy sauce, but I'm gonna leave it like this because it's really delicious, and I don't want to water it down. And in the soup, it's not going to matter. Now, I wanted to give you a couple of other options if you don't want to go to the trouble of, I mean, it's not much trouble. If you have a blender or a magic bullet, something like that, then it's not so much. But you can also take some vegetarian oyster sauce, if you happen to have some oyster sauce, and mix in, how much? It just says thinned with water to a soy sauce consistency. So, yeah, that'd be tasty too, but not as tasty as the one I just made because of the peanuts, I think. Another thing you can do is you can take a half cup of soy sauce and a teaspoonful of the some kind of, you know, kombu or some kind of seaweed. Oh, and finally, I did see where you can take this black bean soy paste. If you have this thick soy sauce, black bean soy sauce, you can water that down and use that in place too. But I really recommend this homemade. It's delicious. I've got my fish sauce made, my vegetarian fish sauce. It smells very peanutty. Anyway, it's really delicious, and I'm going to use some of that. So this soup that I'm making, I don't remember if I said this is a Vietnamese or a Thai, because I've said both things, and my husband pointed it out. Marty pointed it out to me. Actually, when I looked back at where did this recipe come from, it came from Williams-Sonoma. So this is not going to be an authentic Thai or Vietnamese soup. It's going to be Asian influenced, but it sounds like it'll be delicious anyway. So here's what you're going to need besides this fish sauce, which is usually Vietnamese. At least that's what I think of. I know they have it. Okay, what else do we need for this soup? We need some long grain white or brown rice. I decided to use brown jasmine rice. Jasmine rice is a kind that is often used with Thai food. And since this has some Thai influence, I'm going to use jasmine. And I have both white and brown, but I thought I'm kind of in the mood for something healthier with more fiber. So since I have it, I'm going to use brown. The only difference is if you use white rice, you're going to need to cook it for, I think it's 20 minutes. Brown rice, you're going to need to cook it for 40. We'll see how this goes. Either one works. Okay, then I'm going to need some veggie chicken broth. So I'm going to use Chinese veggie chicken broth because that's what I like. You get this Asian influence. Okay, then there's coconut milk. I got this from Trader Joe's. I used to be able to get it much cheaper at an Asian market. I don't know, but you want coconut milk unsweetened. This is not a dessert. It's very important to use the right kind of coconut milk depending on what you're making. Okay, and then I'm gonna need some mandarin. Okay, it calls for mandarin orange zest and juice. Well, I don't have mandarin oranges, but I decided to make this dish because I have an overabundance of satsuma tangerines. So I'm going to use tangerine zest and juice. You can be flexible. Okay, and then the Asian fish sauce. And then I'm gonna need some Thai curry paste. And I like yellow, but you could also get red or green. This is just what I have. And I need to be making some Thai curry. I haven't made that in a while. But anyway, this goes in this soup. And I need a serrano chile. This had to have been put together here in the United States, probably in California. I don't know where Williams-Sonoma kitchens are located, but these are easy to find here. Serrano chile. Then we're gonna need some mushrooms. Okay, So I'm supposed to have enoki, which is a Japanese mushroom. I was not able to find those because I had to just go to Sprouts and Trader Joe's. So I got some baby Bella mushrooms that are sliced. Excuse me. I'm going to use these. It's not the same, but it's a mushroom. And I also need some oyster mushrooms. I was able to find those at Sprouts. So I need those two kinds of mushrooms. And I need some fresh basil. I just picked those off of a basil plant that I have. And kosher salt, I'm probably not going to add salt because I'm using my very salty vegetarian chicken flavoring, and some freshly ground pepper, and I do have that. So let's start with the rice. Since I'm using brown rice, I'm going to wash the rice. I tend to wash brown rice, but not white rice. So, rinse it off. You see, white rice has to go through a process where they remove the husk, and so I feel like it's cleaner. I don't know. So we're going to put the rice in. Now, a lot of people, or some people, will get the water boiling first and then add the rice. But I grew up in South Carolina. In South Carolina, one of their original crops was rice. It's one of the very few places in this country where rice will grow. So anyway, I grew up eating rice, and we never boiled the rice first, and then, boiled the water first and then put the rice in. We put them both in the pot, bring the water to a boil, and then turn it down to low. That's just, I grew up making rice this way. So that's how I'm doing it. Even though this particular recipe from Williams-Sonoma says, boil the water first. No, I'm not going to do it that way. So, you put twice as much water as rice. So that's it. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. And since this is brown rice, I'm just going to put a little extra because it needs extra cooking, and I don't want the water to boil out. So put this on the stove over here. Turn it on high. I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to pay close attention because when it starts boiling, I need to turn it down to low. And since I'm using brown rice, I'm going to cook it for 40 minutes. If I was using white rice, I'd cook it for 20. Now, you can do this in a rice cooker, and I usually do. I just thought, well, here's an opportunity to show you how to cook rice in a pot in case you don't know. So while the rice is cooking, I'm going to prepare my ingredients, and I'm going to start with some Tangerine Zest. I need a tablespoon. So I'm going to use my microplane very carefully so I don't cut my fingers. I wonder what happens when these blades get dull. I wonder if there's a way to sharpen it. I don't know. It'd be a shame to have to just buy a new one. Anyway, so we're just going to do this. And I don't know how many it's going to take. Probably more than 1 tangerine. As you can see, I'm just taking the orange part. I don't want this part underneath, you know, that part. I just want the bright orange. So that's what I'm going for. Yeah, that's not going to be enough. So I'll go ahead and do as many as I need, and then I'll tell you how many I did. All right, I used 2 tangerines to get about a tablespoon. So that's good of zest, a tablespoon of zest. Now I need some juice. I need a 1/2 cup of juice. Okay, I just closed the blinds to make the lighting better. So I'm gonna cut this in half. I'm sure I'm gonna need more than 2. I'm gonna cut it in half, and I should be able to just squeeze it like this. The skins are very thin now after taking the zest off, so I have to be really gentle with it. But it's squeezing pretty easily. And a little piece of the peel fell in, which shows why I'm putting it in this before I'm putting it in the measuring cup. In case anything falls in, seeds or pieces of skin, I can, remove it before I measure. So let's see. Maybe 2 is going to be good for the juice too. I felt a chunk drop. That's all right. I just remembered that I actually have some tangerine juice in the refrigerator. Well, now I have even fresher. So I'll throw this away, rinse my fingers. And if you have something like this, a little strainer, that works really well to get the chunks and seeds out. So I need 1/2 cup. Let's see what I've got. Oh yeah, this is not going to be a 1/2 cup. So then I'm just going to use my finger to stir it up and break apart the pulp. And whatever amount I still need, I'm just going to take it out of the juice I've already juiced. Okay, now with the juice that I already had squeezed, I've got a 1/2 cup right here. Now, the 2 that I juiced gave me a 1/4 cup. The recipe says about 3 tangerines. So if you're buying this, then you want to, get 3 or 4 tangerines. If they're small, you might even need 5. Who knows? These aren't extremely small. They're kind of average size. Okay, next we want to wash this serrano chili and de-seed it and mince it. So let me go wash it. Okay, we've got a nice clean chili. So I'm going to first cut off the stem and cut it in half. I'm going to be very careful not to touch those seeds because they might burn my fingers. If you've never had that experience, trust me on this, you don't want to have it. It can be very painful. So I've got my little spoon. In Korea, these are used like to stir your tea. But I think this was actually a baby spoon. So whatever, they're handy. So I'm just gonna scrape out the seeds and that membrane and try very hard not to touch either one. Serrano should be a bit spicier than a jalapeno, but they're smaller, so I don't know, maybe they're about the same if you talk about one chili. Okay, there's that. And this one. Get rid of all that stuff. They're still going to have some heat. So if you don't like spicy, well, you might not want to be making spicy coconut-mandarin soup with mushrooms, right? Anyway, there's that. I'm going to throw this stuff away and I'll come back and mince that chili. let's get to mincing. I'm gonna start off by making long strips, really small, because we're mincing. Ooh, I just got a little shot of fumes in my eye. Not enough to hurt, just fumes. I think I'll go ahead and do the whole thing. Okay, now line them up, all of them, please. And the recipe calls for 2 cups of enoki mushrooms or button mushrooms quartered, and I wasn't able to get either kind. So I've got some baby Bella mushrooms sliced, and they're just gonna have to do. I'm just gonna chop these into chunks. And measure out 2 cups of these. I've got my 2 cups of baby Bella's cut. Now for the oyster mushrooms. I've washed them and I need to cut up 1/2 cup. So let's get my 1/2 cup measurer handy, because I'm not sure how much this is going to be. And this one, you know, I'm just gonna chop it a similar size to the other one, like that. There. So 1/2 cup. All right, now I've got my mushrooms, my should have been enoki and oyster. Those are ready to go. All I have now is the basil. Now my basil, I just bought it, a plant, but it wasn't doing too well. It wasn't potted, excuse me, it wasn't potted very well. So it's coming back, but I do have some brown parts. So I'm gonna tear away some of those brown parts, but some of them, what the heck, it's not that bad. I like it when I can have the largest leaves on the outside, but I don't this time. So what we're going to do is roll it up like a cigar. Just roll it, and we're going to slice it. Thin, and a lot of dishes, this is just fine, just like that. But I'm going to chop these because I don't want strips. If you're making a caprese salad, strips are great. I'm just gonna go that way. Cut it. And then just do a little bit of this random chopping. So it's small. Supposed to be chopped. Okay, now we got our ingredients ready. So we need to come over here to the stove where my Dutch oven awaits me. Here we go. Into the Dutch oven, I'm going to put a cup of water or broth. So to the water, I'm going to add my powdered chicken flavoring. Not quite a teaspoonful because I don't want it too salty. So if you're using broth pre-made, then, you know, then not water, broth. Right? Okay, gonna turn that on. Like a medium high. And I'm going to also put in the coconut milk, which is solid on the top. Ah, that's fine. It'll melt. Fortunately, this brand has a lid that pulls completely off. It's kind of annoying when you have to open one, you know, with a can opener, you know, that kind. Because if it's hard on the top, like this was, it's kind of hard to get this stuff out. So I'm just going to get what I saw sticking on the top. I like it better like this kind of top. Okay, that. Okay, next we're gonna put in the Mandarin Zest. That's a tablespoon. Mandarin Zest. And the juice. And the fish sauce. So I need a tablespoon of fish sauce. And that's my vegetarian fish sauce. I want all of that in because that is deliciousness. And then what else? The chili paste. I need a teaspoon of chili paste. And here's this Thai chili paste. Comes like this. So it's kind of hard to get a measurement, but we'll do it. Just push up about a teaspoonful. That might be a little more, but I don't care. I like this stuff. Okay. And I believe the only other thing, yeah, the chili. So, serrano chili. All that stuff in there. Okay. You can see that the coconut milk solids is melting pretty fast. All right. So we're going to bring it to a boil, and then we're going to reduce the heat to a medium and simmer it for about 5 minutes. So bring that to a boil on high or a medium high. And that's going to make it boil faster. Okay, so I cooked this for 5 minutes. I brought it to a boil, cooked it for 5 minutes, and you can see it's a nice yellow looking soup. So now I'm going to put the mushrooms in. Both kinds. That's the one that's not enoki. This is the oyster. So now I'm going to put the lid back on and cook it for 5 more minutes to cook those mushrooms. It's been cooking for 5 minutes now. So the mushrooms should be cooked. I'm going to taste it, mainly to see if it's got enough salt. Oh, that's tasty. It's got enough salt for my taste. So I'm going to add the basil. If it's not salty enough for you, then you can add some salt now. I'm just going to add pepper. And I like pepper, so just add however much you like. Okay, there we go. All right, now we serve it. To serve it, we're gonna get our rice. Let's see. So here's our bowl. We're gonna put some rice down on the bottom. Hopefully it's still hot. And we're gonna just put some soup on top of the rice. And there you have it.